Exclusive to the Japanese market, the game I hold in my hands is an update of the game SUIKO En-BOU, released in 1995 in the United States under the name Outlaws of the Lost Dynasty. Renamed SUIKO En-BOU, FUUNSAIKI, this 2D fighting game published by Data East is inspired by the classic Chinese novel Outlaws of the Marsh, set near Mount Liang, famous for being the scene of military battles. It introduces characters and elements of Chinese folklore, in a style reminiscent of Capcom's Tenchi wo Kurao series or Koei's Dynasty Warriors. This re-edition dated May 1996 placed the game in competition with a host of new 32-bit titles, including Tekken 2 and the King of Fighters 95 released in the same month, which inevitably harmed its reception among reviewers. As a fan of Data East's fighting games, I was curious to see what SUIKO En-BOU FUUNSAIKI had to offer. A formula comes to mind. Is it to Samurai Showdown what Fighter's history is to Street Fighter II? Although efforts were made to capture the essence of feudal China, the game's graphic representation is relatively bland. This is mainly due to the backgrounds, which are simple digitized images, lacking parallax or ground raster effect, placing us far from the beauty of a Samurai Showdown or Ninja Masters. The dynamic zoom system, similar to Samurai Showdown, certainly offers extended panoramas of the scenery, but it also reveals a lack of detail and richness in the environments. Only a few well-executed graphic effects, such as those representing fire and snow, manage to embellish these scenes. On the other hand, the pixel art quality of the fighters is remarkable, with high-resolution sprites, rich in detail, and carefully animated. However, it is regrettable that the artistic direction of the game generally lacks character. Composed by Shogo Sakai, known for his work on the Fighter's History series, the music offers successful musical themes, sometimes striking, but most often forgettable. The sound effects, on the other hand, are impeccable, effectively highlighting the impact of the blows. In terms of gameplay, the game seems to seek to fuse elements of Street Fighter II and Samurai Showdown, adopting a 6-button system typical of Capcom games, while integrating distinctive features of the SNK series, such as the ability to run in the presence of a weapon durability gauge, which deteriorates in case of excessive use in defense. The controls, both smooth and responsive, facilitate the execution of combos and juggles, making these actions both simple and intuitive. It is precisely in this aspect that the game excels, offering great creative freedom in executing aerial combinations, particularly fast and lively. However, despite these fun mechanics, the gameplay remains quite rudimentary, lacking power gauges or special techniques. Players will have to settle for desperate moves for more variety. This update then introduces two new characters from Fighter's History, Makoto Mizoguchi and Fan Mei, renamed Lu Feilin for the occasion. In addition, Zhao Gai, the final boss, is now playable in solo mode. Although slightly out of sync with the medieval universe, these three fighters are very enjoyable to play and, in my opinion, greatly contribute to the interest of the title. With a total of 14 fighters, it is certainly far from a KOF 95 of the time, but it remains acceptable. Especially since the move list is rather generous. As an update, SUIKO En-BOU, FUUNSAIKI adequately fulfills its function by correcting certain defects of the original game. The Japanese version of SUIKO En-BOU, although designed for the SEGA STV Titan system, was marked by a poor image refresh rate, causing significant lag, which greatly affected gameplay. Fortunately, this new edition partly solves these problems. It is even possible to adjust the game speed in the options. The gaming experience is thus more pleasant, although it remains imperfect. Slowdowns persist, facing the larger fighters, and loading times are still as long. With the framerate issues partially corrected, this improved version should be favored, especially since it offers richer content. That said, SUIKO En-BOU, FUUNSAIKI is primarily aimed at those who wish to explore uncharted shores, far from the classics of SNK or Capcom. It has to its credit smooth and easy to grasp controls, as well as a rather successful gameplay, centered on combos and juggles. However, it is a pity that its universe, inspired by a historical context, suffers from such a lack of care in terms of graphics.